Okay, we got the brownie on the bottom.
Well, I love where you're going already.
Hot gooey brownie on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
With vanilla ice cream.
Preach.
A little bit of Oreos kind of drizzled around with hot fudge on top. That's my go-to.
Oh.
I told you I got that sweet tooth.
Bro, you had it locked down. The order, immaculate.
I don't wanna try that hard. I ain't gonna show that card. People start to wonder if you live here now. And the boys in the corner.
Welcome back, everybody, to On Deck, a baseball podcast specializing in MiLB coverage over on the Prospects Live podcasting network. You can find us on YouTube and anywhere that you can, anywhere you can conceivably listen to podcasts. That's where you can hear On Deck. Normally, we have Drew Wheeler with us, and normally you hear his amazing voice as he is the host. But Drew had to go cover a town hall meeting, so you are stuck with me hosting. Because of course Nate didn't want to. No, I'm just kidding. But with me today is one of our amazing evaluators over at Prospects Live. It's Nate Rasmussen. How you doing today, Nate?
I'm doing great, man. Episode 2, we made it. We didn't get canceled, so that's a huge plus.
Yeah, I mean, some guy blocked us on Twitter because I did not say very nice things about the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is fine. I stand by what I said. I was directionally correct, and so yeah, I mean, it is one of those things that happens as part of the doing this all. Before we get started, because I know we like to change things up, everyone always plugs their socials at the end of a podcast. We plug ours in the beginning because we want to be a little bit different. Where can they find you on social media, Nate?
Yeah, I'm on X and Bluesky at RasmussenBase and on Instagram at RasmussenBaseball.
You can find me over on social media, rhysbwhite, on X, Twitter, whatever your nomenclature for the app is called. On Bluesky, you can find me at Rhys White. I guess I was one of the first people over there. And then on Twitter, or on Instagram, sorry, you can follow me at rhys.white. I was like one of the first people I felt like on Instagram. Shows you how old I am. On this podcast, we interview Danny Dickinson and Ross Jensen. Danny Dickinson is the second baseman currently for LSU, but I believe he's going to be a shortstop going forward. And then we have Ross Jensen, our new boss, over at Prospects Live. Nate and him did a fantastic interview. We have the MiLB Roundup, as we always do. News over at Prospects Live, because it just seems like every day we're dropping some amazing content. And as always, what is on our mind? I know most people are going to listen to this on the, through their podcasting app du jour, but I think people should definitely go check this out on YouTube. Nate does a fantastic job with all the graphics and everything like that. Can't recommend that enough. We also want to grow our YouTube out. So if you can, like, subscribe, comment. I feel like I'm now a YouTuber now. So yeah, with that, let's jump right into the Dickinson interview.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the On Deck podcast with Prospects Live. We are joined by a very, very special guest today, Daniel Dickinson of the LSU Tigers. Daniel, thanks so much for joining us, man. How you doing today?
No problem. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Dude, we try to keep it really lighthearted with On Deck, try to have some fun here. And so if you don't mind, I've got a couple of icebreaker questions just to try to break through the aux sauce. Maybe we clutter past some of that. I'm curious, man. I know that you've got some pretty cool tattoos. I'm curious, what's your favorite tattoo that you have and why?
I would probably say one of the two, on my left forearm, the roses.
Okay.
I get my mom and my grandma roses every year for their birthday, and their birthday and Roman numerals are kind of across that. And then on the inside of my elbow, I have my best friend, her death date. She died in a car crash, so that one's pretty near and dear to my heart. But those two for sure.
I love that. Lots of women very special to you, memorialized on your arm there. That's really cool, man. And, with Mother's Day just recently, I'm sure some roses were passed out there as well.
Yep. I went to dinner last night with her after the game and got her flowers and wrote her a handwritten card and hung out with her a little bit.
Look at this guy. I love it.
Stand up,
polite guy. I love that. Cares for his mama. One more quick question for you before we really get into the meat of the episode. Let's talk some baseball with you. I'm curious, man, what are your 3 most used emojis right now?
Shoot, I don't even know. I think the red heart, because I sent a bunch of those yesterday.
Of course.
And then, let's see, the laughing emoji with, like, it's kind of sideways with the crying, and then a thumbs up.
Classic. Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Nate, Rhys, really quick, your most used emoji. I've got to hear this out of you two, because Rhys, I have no idea what yours is going to be particularly.
Mine's the eyes emoji. I use that all the time. Like, ironically, unironically, I think that's my favorite one to use.
I have been on the receiving end of that.
I love that Daniel does the sideways laugh and not like the old kind of grandma laugh that's like straight up like crying one. But the handshake emoji is undefeated in my opinion.
So when you say the old crying grandma laugh, I do feel targeted.
Yeah.
I feel targeted here. So yeah,
It's
old
old.
man Drew, man Drew is undefeated. So, all right, Dan. So let's talk about obviously a big weekend. We were talking about it kind of before we jumped on to record here, but you guys had an impressive weekend. Do you want to take us through what this means to you guys as you go forward? Obviously, looking forward to tournament time.
Yeah, definitely. You always want to play your best towards the end of the season. We were kind of fortunate to go through the bumps and bruises kind of in the middle of the season. We started off extremely hot. I think it was close to like the best program record through the amount of games that we went through. And so we knew that we could do it. We had the confidence kind of in the back of our head. We just knew that the game of baseball is hard and it's going to come, and we just have to lean into the work ethic and the preparation. And I think this weekend was a very big testament to that. And I think we're getting back on track. It'll be nice to go on the road again against South Carolina. We've kind of been tough on the road, but we're actually very optimistic about this weekend, excited to go see what we can do and kind of get back to ourselves leading into a road series against South Carolina and then Hoover. And then hopefully we can keep the road to Omaha through Alex Box.
You know, that's something that you guys are obviously going to try to do. Alex Box, one of the most electric atmospheres in all of college baseball, one that was not very kind to my favorite team, but that's neither here nor there. I am curious, you referenced just a minute ago that there's a lot of hard work going in right now, and you've talked about all the hours you guys have spent in the cages. Dan, you've been known throughout your college career as a contact-oriented guy. You've got quick hands through the zone. I'm curious, what have you been working on this season, and how have you seen that pay off in game?
Yeah. Over the summer, I played in the Cape and Team USA, and I struggled honestly quite a bit. Just kind of the next level from Utah Valley to the elite pitching that I'm facing now. There's always going to be kind of that period of time where you struggle and you need just at bats and seeing the pitching and stuff like that. And I definitely think that was this summer. And I'm glad that I stayed in the Cape the whole year or the whole summer, because at the end of the day, we won the Cape Championship. So that was a super great experience that I would have missed out on if I would have left and kind of just felt sorry for myself and stuff like that. And so I knew I needed the at-bats. I knew I needed to face this type of pitching with a wood bat and kind of give me a little foundation for what I was going into. And so coming into LSU, I knew I just needed to see pitching, see at-bats. And now towards the end of the season, I mean, I'm feeling great. I had a double this weekend, first one, and shoot, I don't even know in conference play. I went through a little stretch, but I was grinding, and it feels good to be kind of back on the horse for sure.
Speaking of conference play, who has been the pitcher that you've faced? Because, you know, the SEC is known for having loaded arms. Who is the pitcher that's really stood out to you that you've gone against, that you've had to, you know, prepare for, that really surprised you?
Yeah. Obviously power arm stuff, you just go from like 89 to 92 in the WAC to guys throwing 100 in the SEC. I remember Jared Spencer was good. Dylan Volantis, the freshman, was good from Texas. Obviously Tennessee had some good arms. Snead, Doyle, Phillips, all of those guys are really good. I faced Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson in the fall. It's super, super fun watching those guys just go to work and kind of making my job easy. And when the ball comes to me, it's nice to kind of help them out a little bit. But yeah, I would say those guys for sure. I'm trying to think of the other teams we played. Arkansas, I mean, their Friday guy was good. Zach Root, got a hit off of him, which was nice. I knew it was going to be a good weekend when I was able to put a good at-bat against him together. Some guys out of the pen, kind of forgot their names, blanking on the names. I mean, Arkansas is always known for their pitching, and so they ran a couple guys out there 96 to 98, and you're like, all right, well, I should load yesterday.
Right. Okay, so another question, not baseball related. So going from Utah Valley to up to LSU. So I go through Utah quite often. I like to go to Zion and everything like that, and
Yeah.
not that far from it. What's the best place you ate while you were at Utah Valley? Like, what was the place that you would What was like your favorite place to go out and go eat at? So like, I want to get some food recommendations
Yeah.
if I'm ever in the area.
Okay, so my favorite place of all time in Utah isn't a food place. It's called Swig, and it's a
Oh,
soda
Swig is
shop.
so good.
Bro, I miss Swig every single day of my life. It's so good, and I always got the Beach Babe. It's like Mountain Dew with like vanilla and like something else, but the Beach Babe is the go-to. And then Mo Betta's. It's like a Hawaiian grill place, and so it's got like teriyaki rice, teriyaki chicken, or steak with like some mac and cheese, and oh, that's a good one right there.
How's the adjustment been going coming from you're a Washington kid, right? And then going to Utah and then Louisiana, a little bit different, right? Kind of how's that adjustment been this year?
Definitely 3 different cultures for sure. You go from Washington, wet, rainy, hot in the summers, but it's more of like, I don't know, kind of a scenic view. Utah, extremely cold. Obviously, you got the different religions in there, so it took a lot of time to getting used to. And then you come down south and you walk outside and you feel claustrophobic from the heat. So it's definitely a different change for sure. But I mean, I really enjoy Louisiana. I think it's one of my favorite places that I've been in a long time. Nothing tops Arizona though. Arizona is my absolute favorite place to live. So I mean, I love it here at LSU, the coaching staff, the people around me, the places that I can go hang out. Like Louisiana is a dream.
Yeah, man. Definitely. It's nice to have you down south, and I'm also really happy, obviously, being from Tennessee. I'm used to the oppressive heat. It's been a constant opponent for me as a hefty individual my whole life. So I'm glad to hear you acknowledge that as well,
Yeah.
man. You brought it up just a minute ago, facing guys like Ianson and having Anderson, all these guys, Shores that you can see and test yourself against. How often are you taking ABs against these guys who are, surefire professionals at the next level?
Yeah, at this point in time, never. They're kind of on a strict schedule trying to get their arms in the right shape for the weekends. But I remember in the fall multiple times. I faced Kate Anderson once. I hit a little squibber back at him. I was like, well, he's good. And then I faced Anthony a couple times. I don't quite remember what I did off of him. And then I faced Chase once with no defense out there. And I hit a ball probably right at the third baseman, but I like to think on my offensive mind that it was a double down the line, but it probably wasn't. But yeah, I mean, it's good to face those guys. It's good to get those under your belt. And no matter the result, it'll always make you better at the end of the day.
Certainly. You talked just a minute ago as well about obviously you guys at LSU, you're trying to keep, as you said, the road to Omaha through Alex Box. So you're getting ready mentally as well as physically for the first big regional, big postseason bash of your career. I'm curious, man, beyond just the physical of it, what are you doing to stay mentally kind of in tune with not only yourself and your game, but also keeping yourself in the moment? This is a cool thing. Like, this is kind of what you dream of, right?
Yeah, most definitely. It's definitely a dream. That's also why I entered the portal. I knew that LSU had a great history and a great chance to go to Omaha. And I remember my senior year, instead of going on like a senior trip that kind of everyone does, I played summer ball. And so I was with the same team. I was never on like this big team that traveled everywhere and you kind of pick up. I was just this little guy that kind of hung out with his friends all the time. And we had like a group of 8 to 10 guys that were on the same team for like 4 or 5 years together. And so for our like senior trip kind of thing, we went to Omaha and we went to the College World Series and played a tournament that week as well. And so that was kind of our senior trip. And I remember taking pictures and videos and seeing the game and then having the opportunity 3 years later to go and have a chance to make it to Omaha and kind of recreate that. I remember I was a fan and I was just like, wow, this is incredible. I can't imagine what it's like to be playing out there. And then when I had the chance, I was like, I really love Utah Valley. I really love and the coaching staff and the players and everything that they gave me the opportunity, but I can't pass up on the opportunity to go to Omaha and achieve the dreams for sure. And so, I mean, it's just kind of looking back as a younger Danny and realizing that this is kind of what you dreamed of, and I'm having a good season And it's just basically everything that I could have ever asked for. And I'm just really excited to kind of keep it going with my brothers and just see where we can take this thing.
Speaking of younger Danny, I found a video on YouTube.
Uh-oh.
And I wanted to watch it with you and kind of
Okay.
get your thoughts on how you've evolved.
All right.
I think I'm going to share my screen here, but I think one of my favorite things kind of about your story is how many kind of, I don't know, steps you've taken. I mean, you said that you're committed to a JUCO, Spokane Falls,
Yep.
out of high school, and then to Utah Valley playing as a freshman, to LSU, right? Not a lot of guys go from NWAC to D1 to LSU.
Yeah. It was actually JUCO my junior year, NAI school, Ottawa University, senior year, then walk on to Utah Valley, then LSU.
It's an incredible journey, and I think it's fun to kind of look back and see what we're working with right here.
The baseball.
Oh, boy.
Dang.
I mean, break down the swing for me.
I mean, we got the toe in the ground early, getting ready for whatever I'm facing, 78, I guess. I don't need to get my toe down that early for 78, but little skinny, need to put on some weight. Slow bat. Oh my goodness. Just the fundamentals are there, but the body isn't quite yet. You know what I mean? Good fundamental, smooth swing, but just we gotta put some weight on you, big guy.
What about the lettuce? Can we talk about the lettuce?
Oh yeah. So I wear a hat everywhere because it's kind of going away. So I held on to it a while when I was in high school, and it's just slowly fading, and so I'm holding on for dear life.
Brother, I've been told many times
Yep.
that it's not about the final destination, it's about the journey.
Yep.
I definitely had Hulk Hogan's haircut for many years.
Okay.
And so now, as a proud bald man, I will welcome you gladly into our ranks eventually. But
Thank
you still got the hair. You still got the it's good stuff. Do want to ask, in terms of your time at LSU, we've talked about your journey, and now obviously with Coach Johnson and the incredible coaching staff at LSU. What is it that you've learned in your time as a Tiger that you're going to take with you most to the next level of ball?
Honestly, preparation and routine. We kind of keep it pretty locked in every single game, no matter if it was a midweek, no matter if it was a preseason game, or if it's a conference play on a Friday night. We got a pretty strict routine, visualization, kind of meetings before the game with pitchers, possible relievers, seeing video, getting timing, seeing what they have, getting a game plan for the pitcher, and then kind of going out and executing that game plan in BP, and then kind of visualizing what you're going to do in the game before it happens, and then going out and just competing. I would say that's honestly one of the best things that I've learned is everyone's good here. And at the end of the day, it's all about attitude and compete. You can kind of adjust the way that you play and elevate your game just on competing. If you go up there scared and you're like, oh, well, whatever, then you're probably going to not elevate your game. But if you go up there like, I'm going to do this and with a great attitude and great confidence, then you can probably elevate your game more than what you might be capable of on a normal day. And so just preparation and compete level, honestly, they kind of drill that into our head, and it's helped.
Are you a Mariners fan?
I am, yes.
Have you been able to kind of keep up with? I mean, the bats are getting hot finally. I don't know if you're able to watch games out there with your schedule, but it's been a good year to be a Mariners fan. I'm one too. So
yes, I heard that kind of their whole hitting staff kind of behind the scenes is new. And so there's some promise back there going in. And so, I mean, that would always be a dream for sure. Obviously, that's in the near future. And so, I mean, let's go Mariners. Come on, please.
Not the Edgar Martinez effect.
Yeah.
Not that you're asking or you're putting any seeds out there, but I mean, I'm sure as a Mariners fan, you'd be open to this big kind of history-making first round kind of thing they've got set up.
Yep,
sure.
No doubt.
You're open to it. So obviously preparing for the draft, this kind of a culmination of dreams. You talked just a little bit ago about being one of the 10 guys in your kind of crew, not worrying about a senior trip, worrying about Omaha, thinking about what's next and at the next level. What's it going to mean to you to hear that name called, to see all these dreams finally culminate?
Man, I mean, a bunch of things. Glory to God. Thankful for him and what he's done for me. just putting all my trust and faith into him every single day, especially when I was younger. It's a lot easier to know kind of what he was doing and stuff like that. But in the moment, it was tough for sure. And so just a lot of blessings from him and thankfulness from him. A lot of thankfulness from my mom. I mean, really, really close with her. I appreciate everything that she's done for me in my entire life, all the sacrifices that she's made. So I would say hearing my name get called on national television in whatever round, it doesn't even matter at this point. It's just the MLB draft, and something that I've been dreaming of since I was 3 would just bring back a lot of memories and a lot of experiences and just a lot of thankfulness for sure.
It's amazing. It's amazing, man. I don't know if you guys have got anything else, Rhys or Nate, but I did prepare something kind of special. We like to play games here on the show. I'm a big fan of Game Time. I do have a game for you if you're interested.
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe a little bit of this or that if you're into it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. This or that. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry.
Chocolate.
All right. Summer or winter.
Summer.
Math or science.
Is neither an option?
I'll accept it. We'll allow it. Okay. Would you rather have a funny actor in a drama movie or a serious actor in a comedy movie?
I would say a serious actor in a comedy movie. Kind of
Okay.
keeps you on your toes a little bit. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I thought. I think the
Okay.
same thing.
Yeah, you don't want
Netflix
like an
or
Adam
Hulu?
Sandler in Adam Sandler in what is it called? Uncut Gems. You don't want that sort of situation going on.
No, I'm good on that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Okay. Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Ooh, okay.
Always ice cream afterwards.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
big sweet tooth guy. I feel like I'm just kind of going against the grain if I have dessert for breakfast. You know what I mean?
I feel you. Okay. So this is off topic, but let's say you could have one dessert for the rest of your life every day. What would it be?
Okay, we got the brownie on the bottom.
Well, I love where you're going already.
Hot gooey brownie on the bottom
Oh yeah.
with vanilla ice cream,
Preach.
a little bit of Oreos kind of drizzled around with hot fudge on top. That's
That
my
sounds
go-to.
good.
Oh,
I told you I got that sweet tooth.
bro, you had it locked down. The order immaculate. Just a couple more real quick. Let's say that you could instantly be a pro at the guitar, or you could know every magic trick possible. What would you rather do?
Every magic trick possible. You
Okay.
can blow some people's minds.
It's facts. It's facts, honestly.
And I would never reveal my tricks.
I love it. And then final one, the most important question I'll ever ask you, Dan. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Amen. This kid's got it.
Come on now.
He's got it, obviously.
Whatever
Clear
it-
mind on this
got
kid. What'd you say?
Whatever it is, I got it.
Absolutely. Boys, anything else from you guys for Dan before we wrap up?
I have a super quick personal story. It's not necessarily a question, but my baseball team actually played you last year, and I'm no longer playing. But at Utah Valley, I played for Bushnell last year.
Really?
And you guys absolutely destroyed us.
Yeah.
And I was injured, so thank gosh I didn't have to pitch against you because I think you went 6 for 13 with 2 bombs and 6 extra base hits against us.
Yeah, that's a good weekend for sure. I remember the whole weekend going up because you guys were pretty good in like your conference. Am I
We're
wrong?
good NAIA.
Well, Eddie Smith, he's at Utah Valley now, or not Utah Valley, UW.
Yeah.
They actually lost to a D3 team and then Warner Pacific or whatever. And so that whole week leading up into your guys' games, they were like, this team's a good team. They're good NAI ball. Like so much, he was putting so much pressure on us to like just go in and absolutely beat the brakes out of you guys. And so I'm sorry I had to do that to you guys, but I couldn't get yelled at by coach. That's for sure.
We almost took one. We almost did. It actually boosted our rankings just losing to you guys. So it was
Okay.
kind of like a mutually beneficial situation.
Great. Yeah.
Reese, any other big questions or things for Dan before we wrap up?
No, I asked about the food. I'm glad to hear that you're a fellow swig head. I guess that's what we can call ourselves.
Absolutely.
I get the same thing you do, by the way. So I feel like we're in lockstep on that. And also,
Great.
the dessert, the brownie shout with the Oreos. I wasn't even thinking about that. That's a great move. That's like an elite move right there. I don't have anything else for him.
Well, Dan, one more thing before we go. We'll ask you, let all the folks listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube, let them know where they can find you, follow you as you're gearing up for a very eventful summer.
Yeah. Twitter is _coop_1. That's my middle name, Cooper. Instagram, DanielDickinson.3. TikTok is like Danny.33 or something like that. You can probably just look up Danny Dickinson. I make kind of a lot of videos when I was younger, so that's up there. And that's about it.
Love it. Well, thank you again so much, dude, for spending your time with us. We know your schedule's packed and we appreciate it so much. All of us clearly big fans of you and what you're doing. I might even have to begrudgingly cheer for LSU just because now I know my boy Danny and I have so much in common.
Yep.
So let's just keep any Tennessee teams that wear orange out of your way through the rest of the season, and then we'll get along just fine, I think. But again, thanks so much, Dan, for spending some time with us, and good luck the rest of the year, man.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
I used to be brash, I used to be bold, lived off rhythm and road, I burned every bridge, swindled and stole.
And we are back from that fantastic interview with Daniel Dickinson. I enjoyed that a lot. He was a super cool guy, and I had some connections to him, which made it even more cool. But now we are getting into our bread and butter on this podcast, and that is our minor league roundup, is what we're calling it right now, where we are just talking minor league ball. And there's no one better to talk minor league ball with than Rhys White. Before minor league ball, though, there's been a little bit of news in baseball lately that I wanted to know if you had any comments on Rhys. 2 managerial firings in the past week or so. The Rockies firing Bud Black after 9 years, I believe it was, and the Pirates firing Derek Shelton. 2 of the worst teams in baseball firing their managers. Do you have any kind of thoughts on that? I thought it was about time.
I thought it was about time with Bud Black. I think that he's been on the job for a little bit longer than you would think for someone who hasn't had the success that he's had for a while. But also, ultimately, the Rockies, how do you want to say this? They handle things in their own way, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, except for obviously the on-field product has taken a drastic step back this year. I mean, they're outpacing the last year's White Sox team. So, they had to make some sort of changes. And I think that's going to be, I don't think that this is going to right the ship or anything like that. I honestly think that they really shouldn't have came into the season with Bud Black. I don't know what your thoughts are on this firing.
I'm in the same exact boat. I think the Rockies have been bad for a while now, and Bud Black or not, nothing was going to change that. So I guess you might as well fire him, try and get someone young in to kind of grow with the younger players that they kind of have. And at this point, I think that they are just as bad as the White Sox of last year. There really isn't anything fun going on in Colorado right now. I saw that they're like away hitting splits. They have like a 70 WRC plus on the road right now. It's uncompetitive baseball most of the time. And I think manager or not, it doesn't really change my opinions on the Rockies. And the Pirates, I don't know, man. Paul Skeens had some lively comments as always, kind of about Derek Shelton and how someone had to, take the blame for what was going on amidst a 12-26 start. But neither of those teams kind of move me at all. So I don't have much.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh, I don't know if Derek Shelton's a good manager. I'm not going to pretend like I do, but it's not his fault that the team didn't invest in the offense. The only offensive addition they made, well, they made 2, but one hasn't played yet, and Spencer Horwitz, and then Tommy Pham. When those are your 2 off-season moves, there's not a lot that you can be excited about. And I feel like I think first it's the manager, and then I think at some point we're going to see, the front office go, and that tends to just be the normal cycle of everything like that in the professional sports realm. I just think I don't know why the Pirates are as bad as they are. Like, it's not. I mean, obviously, it's kind of easy to pinpoint. The pitching's been good. The hitting's not been great. I honestly wonder if we see Andrew Heaney get dealt at any point in the next couple of weeks, because, we talked about it on the last episode. Whatever that the Baltimore Orioles have done, it's organizational malpractice, and Andrew Heaney doesn't fix that solution. He's kind of like putting lipstick on a pig. It makes it look a little bit nicer. So that's the move that I've been touting in my mind, or Kobe Mayo for a Graham Ashcraft sort of trade. But yeah, I don't know what you think on those moves, but I think that the Pirates firing is more surprising because I didn't expect them to be this bad to start the season.
Me too. I thought that the pitching would carry them a little bit more than it has, and obviously Jared Jones hasn't been there and stuff like that. They haven't called up the young guys yet, so there's another level to this Pirates organization. But once again, it's on the pitching side. I think the common theme I see between those two clubs is I don't like how they draft for the most part. Obviously, like Skeens, like great draft picks, stuff like that. The Pirates have not drafted bats well at all, and the Rockies, I think they make some good international signings, but like even like Charlie Condon already looks like I don't know, the B word. It doesn't look great for a lot of the guys they've drafted with high picks over the last couple of years. They haven't hit on a whole lot of late round guys. I just think that fire manager, whatever. I think it's the front office kind of with their player identification, which is the real problem, and they don't spend money either. So I think there's a bunch of reasons, but I don't know, man.
And it's not even just player identification, the draft or the amateur, like the IFA market and everything like that. It's player acquisition at the major league level. Like there are fringe major leaguers on, or maybe not fringe major leaguers, but fringe 26-man players on other teams that these two organizations could really, take advantage of, like a Dodgers roster crunch. Mets are probably going to have a roster crunch here soon, but they just don't. They don't operate in a way, especially the Rockies. They don't operate in a conventional manner. I mean, the Rockies just kind of like their big off-season moves were Kyle Farmer and I forget who else, but it's not like obviously they're having some of the, like, and the prospects aren't coming up and hitting for the Rockies either. Same with the Pirates too. Their hitting prospects just haven't developed. Like Henry Davis just kind of looks like one of the worst. I was asking someone, do you think he's the worst first overall pick in a long time? Someone said, does Mickey Moniak count? And I don't know what you think, but Mickey Moniak can at least play a premium. I mean, he's actually on the Rockies, so maybe this isn't a good example. But he can at least play a premium defensive position at a pretty good, right? Like that's where Henry Davis is just kind of like he can't really catch, he can't really hit. It's looking like a really bad pick, although it did allow them to get Bubba Chandler. So maybe there is something else there, but it's not looking good for either one of these teams. And I know like I love talking about Major League Ball, but I love talking about minor league ball. And one of my favorite stories is Tim Elko. Tim Elko, I feel like I'm taking the hosting role here for a second, which is
go for it.
So he was famous for his that run with that old Miss team. That was fantastic to see. You had him, Jacob Gonzalez, a bunch of interesting prospects. And there was some good pitching on that team. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about relive the past. We don't want to talk about SEC players because Drew isn't here. Signed for $35,000. But Tim Elko was just destroying the ball in AAA. I mean, I was hoping that he never has to go back. It was 348, 431, 670, and hopefully his last stop in AAA. So I mean, but he's not off to the best start in the major leagues, but he did hit his first career home run. I mean, he's hitting 167 OBP and 667 slug, which is pretty good. And I think honestly that this is a well-deserved chance. This is what the White Sox should be doing. They shouldn't be. I mean, they're not really rolling in this bucket, but they're not really giving old guys who are towards the end that are entering quad A types. They need to figure out if Tim Elko is a quad A type, and I'm very excited to see how this goes. What do you think about Tim Elko and the extended run that he should get with the Chicago White Sox team?
I'm so glad that they finally called him up. But I'm so glad that they did call him up. And I don't think the ceiling's super high, but I think there's a chance you get a quality everyday big leaguer in Tim Elko. I mean, the home run was pretty cool. He strikes out a lot in the minors, and the power's cool. It'll be interesting to see how it kind of translates to the MLB level. I don't think we're looking at some crazy high ceiling guy, but he's got a high enough floor to stick around for at least the rest of the year to see what they have. And it's not like Andrew Vaughn is tearing down the door for first base reps, stuff like that. I don't think that they have anyone else who's really necessarily pushing for those reps. So I'm glad they're giving Elko the shot. Doesn't necessarily move me as a prospect, but it's a fun story because we all remember watching him on TV back in the day in college. So I'm glad he's getting a chance.
I'm glad he's getting a chance too. Do I think that he has a chance to be a top 10 first baseman at any point in his career? Probably not. I'd be happy to be wrong. Don't get me wrong. But a top 20 option at first base /DH, I think he could definitely be that. Even if he's just, I mean, at the very worst, he could be a short side at the platoon hitter. But like we talked about, the White Sox are in this prime opportunity to see if Tim Elko, at his age 26 season, can be something for the White Sox, whether that's, being good enough to be traded for the next competitive team or holding down a spot. It's not like they have any really good first base prospects coming up. So, I mean, I think this is a really good opportunity. And speaking about first base prospects, unless you have more on Elko, I think we should transition over to Ryan Clifford.
Yeah.
Ryan Clifford is an interesting prospect to say the least. I loved him. I kind of, I'm not going to say that I found Ryan Clifford because obviously the Houston Astros did back in the day, but I was like one of the first people who started writing about him because I got tipped off that, there was like this guy that they drafted in the 11th round that they really liked. They gave him like, fringe second round money. And Ryan Clifford, he's kind of a first base prospect. He's not really, not a great mover. He does swing and miss a lot. He's striking out 31% of the time. But man, this guy have pretty crazy impact on the ball. I mean, it's 6 home runs so far. He's hitting 248. 345, 475 slug, and it's a power and approach. It's a 3 true outcome sort of hitter, I guess, the easiest way to put it. So I think that if he can keep this up, I mean, there's a chance for him to be with the Mets in 2026. What do you got on Ryan Clifford here, Nate?
What prompted me putting him in our prep sheet was I wrote about him on the daily sheet the other day, and I kind of hated on him more than I think I should have. So in like retrospect, I'm kind of trying to clear my name here a little bit. I said that he didn't move me at all, stuff like that. I was like, I see an average big league first baseman at best. I think the ceiling is higher than that. I mean, he has shown more power than I gave him credit for at all. But he's not my favorite type of first base prospect. I just love a guy who doesn't strike out a whole lot. And that is obviously kind of his Achilles heel, but a really underrated kind of walk numbers from Clifford consistently throughout his career. Only problem is Pete Alonso kind of hanging out there. And I don't know if the Mets are in a position to give a guy like Clifford extended run within the next 2 years. I mean, we saw what happened to Brett Beatty, and he probably got more run than he deserved. I just don't know if the Mets are going to be willing to kind of take another risk like that. I think Alonso, maybe 3-year deal on him. So maybe Clifford takes over after that, gets some DH kind of reps after Winker leaves. But I'm just not sure if there's necessarily a place for him on the Mets within the next 2 years. And when I'm talking prospects, I kind of want to talk about like when are they actually going to get their shot. And I don't think Clifford has necessarily a clear path to big league playing time. I don't think he can play the outfield at all. But I don't know. Do you kind of agree with that?
I'm 100% with you. I think that his best opportunities with another organization, which would make it his third organization in, his professional career, which again is not a problem because teams obviously value what he provides, but it's finding a spot for first baseman who swings and misses a lot is not very easy. I mean, the Mets didn't even really want to re-sign Pete Alonso, for being honest. They spent all offseason like not wanting him. And they're like, well, I guess you got to a point where we can do that. And Pete Alonso had a fantastic start to the season. He's cooled off just a touch, but I mean, he wasn't going to be hitting, whatever he was at. Like, it felt like he was doing a 3, 4, 5, looking like one of the best first basemen of all baseball. And he tends to be that. He hits the ball very hard. So, I mean, we're talking about Ryan Clifford's a tier down from that is the ceiling I envision with him. I don't know if you disagree, unless you have, like you said, unless you have some deep down, like you're like the biggest Ryan Clifford fan. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't think the Mets really want to clog the DH position right now. Their roster construction is sort of in a weird spot where, I mean, pitching wise, I think feels like the Mets are just like nailing it on the pitching side. Like Clay Holmes has been a really good relief to starter conversion. But the lineup, Lindor started to get hot. Vientos is starting to look like a quality major leaguer after not having the best start of the season. Jeff McNeil's putting together quality at bats. They have to figure out what they have with Brett Beatty. Honestly, I think Brett Beatty might be if I had to guess, I'm going to say Kansas City Royal. He just screams Kansas City Royal. I know we just recorded a segment with a prospect, and you love the Kansas City Royals and their uniforms. Maybe you'll buy a Brett Beatty jersey. Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm talking a lot on Ryan Clifford. Do you have anything else on him before we go over to another player who likes to swing and miss a lot?
I think we're in lockstep on Clifford. Let me clear my name. Kansas City Royals, I like their City Connect jerseys. All right, you'll see that in our next episode 3. I like the City Connect jerseys. And I actually have been thinking about getting a Bobby Witt jersey because, I mean, he might be the most fun player to watch in baseball. But back onto our next. Do you want to comment on that first, actually?
I don't. I think Bobby Witt's very much up there. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Who else would I? Ellie De La Cruz is fun. I think Shohei Ohtani's fun. But he's a different animal entirely. So yeah, I think Bobby Witt's definitely the most fun player. I don't know if I'd buy a Bobby Witt jersey because I feel like I'm starting to get to that age where I can't really be. I'm getting older than the players, so I don't really know if I want to be wearing a younger person's jersey on me.
My rule is to only buy jerseys of retired players, so then I never look stupid. But Bobby Witt Jr. is a Royal for life, and now that Cal Raleigh got his extension, I might be in the market for a Cal Raleigh jersey. But I think retired players is the way to go. Moving on in our segment, I wanted to ask you about Dakota Jordan because I don't know a whole lot about him other than he hits the ball really freaking hard. He will hopefully be with my local Eugene Emeralds, the Giants' high A affiliate near where I live, soon, so I can see him in person. I know you've seen him and have some comments on him.
Yeah, he swings and misses a lot. Like that's the thing. Like, swing and misses at batting practice pitches. It's a very it's a very well built frame. Like 6 foot 220. Like he looks like he could have taken running back snaps for Mississippi State. Like he is different physically than anybody I saw when I went out to a game. So I mean, in the Cal League, like I catch these guys right before you do, which is kind of fun. We kind of get to we get a chance to see the same guys. I mean, we're both Farmillo guys. I don't know if Farmillo's hot start has changed. Whether I don't remember if it was you that disagree with me on Farmillo being the second best Mariners prospect. But that's a different conversation that we can have, unless you want to have that right now.
I am of the opinion Farmillo might be the best Mariners prospect right now. I think him and Colt are so close, and I think it's getting closer. But Colt's getting hot. But yeah, a couple numbers on Dakota Jordan, not to interrupt you, but I think it's important to kind of show you guys where we're coming from. The contact percentage is 71%, right? I'm not sure how you feel about that. Doesn't make me feel great. And right now he's got 136 WRC plus. He's hitting 311 with a 400 on base percentage, but the BABIP is 434, and he's striking out 27% of the time in single A. Cause for concern for sure. I don't know if you have any more thoughts though, Rhys.
Yeah, he's an aggressive swinger. Like he's swinging 46% of the time. He's going up there to go swing. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I think for the most part, it helped him in his collegiate career. And if you just look at the surface level stats, like if you just look at batting average, OBP, slug, you think, oh, he's doing pretty well. But then you see, the BABIP clearly screams that there's going to be some regression coming. There's been less power. He's taking advantage of really bad defensive catchers, and not bad because they're always going to be bad, but I mean, they're, some of them are 20 years old, 20 to like 18-year-old catchers. They're not fully formed yet. Some of them can't even hit the routine throw to second base. So it's kind of, so he's taking advantage of that. I think that Dakota Jordan, it's a very interesting assignment by a team that is been doing some weird things. Like I think Carson Bench got sent up to high A. I'm surprised that Dakota Jordan didn't follow him, because Dakota Jordan, albeit these aggressive swings, but he's a good defensive center fielder.
And he's a college bat too. I mean, there's no reason to kind of keep him. He's above the level of single A, but I think at some point the K numbers will probably be very scary. But moving on to another San Francisco Giant and one of my favorite prospects in baseball right now, talking about Bo Davidson. So quick backstory on Bo Davidson if you do not know who he is. And this is off the dome because I've seen him play multiple times this year. He's electric on the field, and I think his story is even more electric. So he went to a junior college. I think he's a class of 2020 high school grad, something around there. And then he quit playing baseball. He was very good at his first junior college. He quit playing baseball for personal reasons, fell out of love with the game. And then he came back 2 years later to a new JUCO program, tore the cover off of the baseball down there, had good stats. I wouldn't say top JUCO player stats, and played in kind of a mid-level college summer ball league. And as a JUCO sophomore, technically, despite being a little bit old for being a sophomore, he was signed by the Giants for, I think it was $50,000. And now he is one of the best prospects in their system, going from JUCO to not playing baseball to JUCO to the Giants organization, and he looks better than ever. It almost feels like he's rounding into form, but that's enough from me. Rhys, do you have any kind of thoughts on Bo Davidson?
Yeah, I saw him last year when he was in single A a couple of times, actually. And I didn't think anything stood out to me. It wasn't like there was like this tool that I was like, oh my goodness, this guy, he has something. But it was just an amalgamation of like average to maybe above average tools. But I mean, the way he's been hitting as a professional makes me wonder if we were a little light on the hit tool. I mean, 328, 438, 608 last year in single A, 352, 409, 590. So very much still, it's more or less the same thing. So I mean, he's hitting for more power than he did last year. He's a good athlete. I don't know what your thoughts are on him as far as defensively goes, But I mean, there's a chance that he could be a really interesting fourth outfielder, if not more, because, he played some low level competition. He took that time off. So he's younger in baseball years than his age would indicate.
He looks like he is just now entering his baseball prime of sorts, and kind of stats that back that up. Last year, he was like a 70% contact guy. He was a 65% contact guy early in his career. He's an 81% contact guy now with a 240 ISO. He's hitting balls really hard. I saw the other day he had a 112 mile per hour exit velo on, I think it was a walk-off hit. And he is just on the defense. It's hard to attack center field, but he's such a good athlete that he makes things work. But he is still so raw, kind of with all parts of his game. He really struggles hitting off speed. I've noticed that, right? Especially from the right side. The left side, because he's a lefty. He struggles to hit the spinner, right? There's still definite holes in his game. He probably won't be a center fielder forever because his reads are pretty bad, but he has enough speed and just athleticism to make up for that. And that's what makes me like Bo Davidson so much, is because if he continues putting things together like he does like he has on the hitting side this year, you could have one of the best prospects in baseball based on how toolsy he is. You don't find a guy with kind of the speed and raw power that he does. And I think every outlet has super underrated his hit tool. I think it's probably an average hit tool with plus speed, could be plus defense and plus power. I think there's a whole lot of pluses across the board for Bo.
I think one of the things that I noticed just looking at the raw numbers, right? It's the first pitch strike percentage, which I find is a stat that, for the most part, you don't swing at first pitches, right? Like you just kind of you want to see how it looks, and you allow, because normally it's a fastball, right? As a former pitcher, you probably know, as a pitcher, you just want to get ahead, right? Like that's the whole idea of that. Unless you're throwing like a get me over curveball. But one of the bigger things that I've noticed is, we're talking about a short sample size. Don't get me wrong. But the swinging strike rate has gone pretty significantly down from 13.5% last year to 9.5% this year. And again, short sample size, maybe he's just seeing the ball really well, or maybe he worked on something. Maybe the Giants are having him be more selective. They do have a whole new front office, basically, as they kicked out Farhan Zaidi and Buster Posey. Could you call it stepping down if you go from owner to president of baseball operation? The rare demotion that might be perfect. But yeah, it's one of those things where Bo Davidson looks like a totally different prospect, and I don't think he's entering the top 100 conversation anytime soon, but he's definitely looking like maybe a top 175, 250 sort of prospect. And I think that for where the Giants got him and the capital that it took to get him, that's a pretty big win on their part.
I think he's definitely a player to watch if everything clicks like it has started to. And if you are a fantasy baseball dynasty kind of person, I've noticed that Bo Davidson is available in a lot more leagues than he should be because he doesn't get a whole lot of coverage. I haven't seen, other outlets covering him too heavily so far. So he still is flying under the radar a little bit. Rhys, we're going to kind of go rapid fire with these next three prospects before we get into some fun ones at the end of our minor league roundup. What are your thoughts on Cole Young right now? Just won AAA Player of the Week or Division Player of the Week, something like that. He's been hitting really well for the Tacoma Rainiers so far this year.
Yeah, he's kind of doing what I expect Cole Young to do. He's kind of been the same guy since he's been drafted, right? Outside of 2023, where there was a kind of a power explosion, 11 home runs for him. The power's not ever going to be anything crazy. I think he's a really good contact guy. I think he ultimately ends up at second base. Maybe can fake it at shortstop for a little bit while they figure out their shortstop for the future. But it's a really good, well-rounded prospect. He's making a lot of contact, 89.6% zone contact rate. That's pretty good. They just swinging a little bit too much out of the zone with 61.4% outside the zone contact. Again, this is all at time of recording, but the 8.1% swinging strike rate is in line with everything else that we've seen from him. It's Cole Young, I feel like we're getting prospect fatigue with him to an extent because he's been around for so long. I don't think he's ever showed off the crazy, there's no 80, there's no 70, might be a 60 hit tool, but that might be kind of it. But we're seeing some of these 60 hit tool guys do really well in the majors, and he can kind of shape his batted balls in a way when he stops swinging at pitches out of the zone that result in suboptimal contact. We see a guy that can be a really interesting top of the order sort of prospect.
Yeah, 108 max exit velo, 89 average exit velo. I think Cole Young is just kind of your classic high floor kind of prospect. I think it'll be interesting to watch how the Mariners handle him because there is a need for a second baseman on that team. I know Leo Rivas is OBPing 500. He's not a viable solution there long term, especially for a team that's leading the AL West right now. So because of that, I think Cole Young is going to get a shot this year. And I think the contact and the floor just is so high that he'll probably be able to take that job and just kind of run with it and be, a viable bat at the major league level for a long time.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever going to like win a batting title, but he's going to be a perfectly fine major league regular. Like he's going to play good second base. I think that he's exactly what the Mariners sort of need. They need to sort of lengthen that lineup, and I think that he can provide that as early as maybe this week. Who knows?
And he could hit 10 home runs and 500 ABs, and that's fine. All right. And moving on from Cole Young to J.R. Ritchie. Rhys, you have a new background. Crazy stuff's happening on this podcast. But talking about J.R. Ritchie, I played against him in high school. He absolutely carved my team up every chance he got. And he just got promoted in the Braves system to Double-A. What are your thoughts on J.R.?
He is like a really good athlete. I believe at the when you probably played him, was he still vacillating between? Or no, that's a different Braves prospect. They draft so many arms, you get them all mixed up. J.R. Ritchie, really good athlete on the mound. The command has always been one of the hallmarks of his game. Like we're talking about a guy who's always kind of hovered around, 2 to 3 walks per 9. Doesn't really give up a lot of home runs. The pitch mix is always good. Fastball shape's a little bit suboptimal, but the command allows it to play up a little bit. I don't think he's ever going to be like the biggest swing and miss guy, but he's been going like. Let me pull up his game log. So we actually did a segment on him at for Pat to the show, and like he leads like his league in like innings pitch. He just can go out there. He takes the ball every 5th day or 6th day, and he just goes out there and works. I mean, it doesn't seem like he's had a bad start to start the season. Like it's pretty impressive.
I think he threw a complete game recently. I might be totally off there. You might have checked the game logs, but that's awesome in high A.
Yeah, his first ever his most recent game. Sorry, the way that Fangraphs does it always confuses me. They always go most recent to oldest. Yeah, it was 9 innings, 9 strikeouts of one walk, no earned runs. I mean, you take that every single day if you can from your starter. And the fact that the Braves are allowing him to go that long in a game is kind of interesting because you've seen it a bunch now. They don't let pitching prospects go more than like 5, maybe 6 innings if they're really dealing.
And it's interesting because he was a TJ guy, I believe, right after he got drafted, and he was the 35th overall pick in 2022 out of high school. And they've been super careful with him ever since he came back last year. I think he only threw 50 innings last year. He's already almost up to 50 innings this year. It seems like they took the brakes off of JR and they're letting him pitch. My only note really on JR is he's just a pitcher, man. He knows how to pitch. I don't think the stuff is plus or anything like that. I think the command's good. It's not, super, super great. He's just a really good pitcher and he blends everything together really well. Kind of has some Schwellenbach to him. Like, I think that's probably the ceiling on him. Schwellenbach, probably not a number 1 in the MLB, but he's a really, really dang good pitcher. I think he's got a bright future for a Braves team that, could use some pitching at some point, right?
And keep in mind that the Braves love to ramp guys up real quick. So Ritchie could be in the majors, second half of the season.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on. Zaire Hope, Rhys, what are your thoughts on the young Dodgers outfielder?
I mean, so technically he is, I don't know why I say technically he's awesome. He's awesome. Like he really hits the crap out of the ball. It's really optimized swing for hitting for power. The only thing is that the contact has made a slight regression this year, but ultimately not something to where I'm super worried about. He has the sort of power and the swing decisions and the quality of contact that he can get by with a 71% zone contact rate. Contact rate in general, not just zone. But I would love to see just a touch more, and that'll come. I mean, I just saw RM Layton, shout out to him over at Just Baseball. He said that how amazing he's been doing against high A breaking balls. So everything sort of looks like it's good under the hood for Zaire Hope. I saw him last year. I mean, I still get likes and stuff from that video that I took of him. He was just starting to break out. And, some publications have him ranked a lot higher than we do. And I think Zaire Hope is on the fast track to being a very good like Dodgers player. Like, it takes a lot to break in with that team. He has a chance to actually do it.
100%. And him and Josue down there are a fun duo to watch. And now you have Mike Sirota killing it in single A right now and due for a promotion to high A, which could make one of the sickest high A outfield tandems I have ever seen. On to our next pitcher. This is someone I have been all over lately, Gage Jump. Rhys, what do you think about Gage Jump, and can the success sustain?
So I saw him at UCLA before he ended up transferring over to LSU and became the, what he's become now. I mean, it is one of the crazier fastballs you'll see from his arm slot. I remember seeing that the data was pretty crazy. I believe he's only given up one home run in his professional career. And I want to say it was either Zaire Hope or Max Clark. So two really good prospects. So nothing against him. I watched a game of his recently where he was pitching in what looked like a tornado. Like he was like, there was like rain and everything, and he couldn't get a grip on the ball, but it didn't matter. That dude was just going up there and he was figured it out. I think Gage Jump, it's very relievery in look, so it makes me wonder if he is going to be a reliever at the end of the day. But it's a really good fastball from, especially that really high like lefty arm slot. It kind of has that like Tariq Skubal like invisible effect almost. Everything else is a little bit lagging behind, but it's still a really good look. I think there's a chance that if he carries these on, we could be talking about a top 50 prospect in the game when we re-rank him midseason.
I agree 100%. I mean, the 1.7 FIP at high A is pretty incredible for a guy kind of just getting a taste of professional baseball right now. I watched some video on Gage Jump recently, and I swore a bunch while I was watching. I actually recorded it and put it up on YouTube. And I described it as a pistol squat on the mound when he's pitching. I've never seen someone get so low into their backside as if they were sitting on a chair while they were pitching. And that creates just so much deception for him. And that is something that you cannot teach and will continue to help him throughout his career. And if he becomes a reliever, I will be very sad, but he will be one of the best relievers in baseball in my eyes.
I think that the breaking ball is coming along nicely. I just don't think that LSU was the place to get the most out of his particular breaking ball. So I think now that with the Athletics, they might be able to tweak it a little bit. And if you can get that second pitch down, I honestly think from a lefty pitcher, like you can get away at the highest level with being a 2-pitch guy, especially with the way in which his arm slot and everything, and the way in which that fastball it kind of like it's going to sound weird, but even looks like from we're watching it on video, it kind of like flutters and then just like, it just catches all these hitters. Like they're shocked that it got there. It just like gets up on them pretty quickly. So I think that I think that just that sort of that one pitch can kind of make him have at least a floor as a good reliever.
100%. And on to our next prospect, Jordan Lawler. Finally got the call. He has been heavily discussed within baseball communities all year long, wondering kind of when he was going to get his second taste of Major League Baseball. He got 13 games, I believe, in 2023. Was in AAA for all of last year. Didn't play a whole lot of games last year, granted, and has looked incredible this year at AAA and finally got the call. First of all, how do you think he slides in to a Diamondbacks lineup that has a lot of good hitters right now? And second of all, just general thoughts.
So I'll do general thoughts first because I just want to look at the way in which their lineup is constructed because it's a really good lineup. So how they're going to piece this together is going to be very interesting. But I think Jordan Lawler has a lot of really interesting tools. He's a really good athlete. He can play a few different defensive positions. He can hit for some power. There is a little bit of like swing and miss in the zone, but that's ultimately, not everyone's going to be like the perfect prospect. I mean, looking at where he can fit in, it is still kind of tough. Maybe he gets some DH plate appearances. Maybe he gets some time at second base when they move Ketel Marte over to like left field, and maybe that moves Lourdes Gurriel over more. It's going to be an interesting sort of like roster juggling, but I'm very excited to see how it goes. I mean, Tim Tawa has been really good in a similar sort of role. So now I just think that he's too good to be left on the bench. But I mean, maybe with the way this roster is constructed, that's just going to have to be, he doesn't get everyday playing time, but he gets, he gets in a couple of games. He's like maybe their super utility guy who can play a bunch of different defensive positions and spell guys and allow like Eugenio Suarez to get off his feet for a day. Because, he's 33, he's getting up there in age. Maybe he deserves a little bit more plate appearances at the DH spot. So maybe that's the ultimate role for Lawler with his defensive versatility and his athleticism.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that Lawler's played 17 games at second base this year, and he never played a game in the minors at second base before this year. The Athletics were trying to make him more versatile in an attempt to get him these ABs at the major league level. Last week, I talked about Ketel Marte and why he should move to the outfield, and we actually had to cut the segment due to audio kind of problems. So I'm going to say it again. I think Ketel Marte should move to the outfield. I know that he's already done that before, and it isn't a smart idea, but if you want your 9 best bats in the lineup, it involves Ketel Marte in the outfield. I think Lawler is the call-up is a signal that the Astros are going for it this year. I think that they've decided that he is, one of the 9 guys that will get consistent playing time on their roster this year, and I think that they're less concerned about his development right now and more concerned about winning games. And even if that means Lawler only plays in 50% of games or something like that, I think that this is a signal from the Diamondbacks that they are going for it all this year. I also think this leaves Tim Tebow as the odd man out, which stinks because he has been really good so far. But at the same time, I would rather see Lawler get those ABs for the rest of the year than Tim Tebow.
I would tend to agree. I think that Tawa, his ascension has been pretty interesting because he went from like depth prospect all of a sudden now he's a key piece of this team. So I think Lawler getting those plate appearances in that time really helps. I also wonder if this is a chance to show him off for a trade because if we just look at their rotation really quickly, Corbin Burns has not been what we sort of hoped he would be. Zach Gallen is not having the greatest start to his year. Brandon Pfaadt has been like, I saw someone call him the most perfectly average pitcher in baseball. We're just kind of insulting in a certain way. But, if you're average at a bunch of stuff, then you're pretty good. Merrill Kelly just continues to be one of the more underrated pitchers in all of baseball. Even if I am slightly concerned that the home runs are going to start just being a problem for him. But, a 4 ERA guy who can just eat some innings, that's what you expect. Maybe Lawler is the avenue for them to get a cost-controlled pitcher who can help out and maybe rectify the issue of the Corbin Burns contract, because if this is the way the Corbin Burns contract is going to go, it's worse than the Jordan Montgomery contract that they really want to dump. And their owner is so openly saying one of my biggest regrets in life is signing Jordan Montgomery. So it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to be interested to see how they handle Jordan Lawler and his roster, and if they are showing him off for some utility in a trade.
Now that you bring that up, I think that is spot on. I think that's probably the best way moving forward because they don't really need him in the lineup right now or on the field. I think that what they have is working, and I don't think that they should mess it up. Don't mess up a good thing, right? It's not necessarily working on the mound, and Lawler could net you a pretty good return, especially if you maybe package him with some other pieces. You could get that front end starter that you're currently lacking in Corbin Burns. Moving on, do you want to introduce us to our last prospect on Minor League Roundup?
Yeah, he recently got promoted to high at Sean Linyon. It looks like Lennon. It is not Lennon. It's Sean Linyon. And he has been fantastic. We're talking about he went from kind of being a reliever type on the same single A squad. All of a sudden now he's a full-time starter, and it's been fantastic. He struck out 14.17 batters per 9 innings, only walked 2.94, 1.07 ERA. The changeup's disgusting. Sitting behind home plate, I was like, oh, he's been pitching well. And then I'm talking to a scout, and he's like, man, this guy, I don't know what has happened, but this changeup is really taking a step forward. The fastball's taking a step forward too. And those 2 pitches are going to be kind of the catalyst for him. I do think he ultimately ends up a reliever because I don't think the slider's very good. But that doesn't mean that it can't get better. But also, it's kind of when you watch him, it's kind of like a relievery build. He's built like Kenley Jansen a little bit, not the most athletic, mobile guy. So maybe, just allow him to go out there and air it out for 1 inning and allowing that 70 changeup to play. I think that might be where Sean Linyon shines.
Yeah, just another lefty starter that might end up in the pen, but I really like what I'm seeing so far. The strikeout to walk ratio is super incredible and looks kind of like a starter's. But granted, he is only in high A right now, and it's also something you got to think about here. He's on the Dodgers, right? They kind of have their rotation set for at least the next couple of years. Granted, they go through 14 starters a year, so maybe they don't, and he is useful as a starter in the future. But I don't see a team like the Dodgers giving kind of a borderline starting pitcher, relief pitcher prospect extended run in the major leagues. But I'm also talking myself out of this based on the state of the current Dodgers rotation where they don't have enough pitchers. But I've really liked what I've seen so far. I've written about him a couple times on daily sheets and stuff like that. And Lignon is a prospect to know moving forward.
Yeah.
All right. And we are going to move on to our next segment, which is going to be an interview with just myself and Ross Jensen, who's now part of the team at Prospects Live. And after that, we'll talk about some news and what's on our minds. And we are back, and I'm joined by a very special guest, the Ross Jensen from Prospects Live and Scout the Stat Line. And this is awesome. Ross, you are our first guest on the podcast, and you have been a popular name this week in podcasting. I've seen you on a handful of shows. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been busy.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you here. So we're going to talk some prospects with you soon. But first, I kind of want to. This is the first time you've appeared on a Prospects Live podcast. Is that the case?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll kind of introduce you to the viewers. Kind of explain what your role is now, moving forward, and yeah. So I guess if you have a quick summary, kind of who you are and how you came to be at Prospects Live and Scout the Stat Line and all that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me give you the quick rundown. I this is sort of fresh in my mind because I just posted about this yesterday on X. But I kind of got my start in late 2018, 2019. I was just an avid baseball fan, been doing Dynasty forever, and I think I'd been pretty successful with that. I built I built a fantasy team that won like 5 straight championships. It was the scourge of the league for a while, and I've always just had a lot of fun with it and just kind of talking back and forth with buddies and all that. And I just thought I had a lot to share about it. So I started writing for the Dynasty Guru at that point. And there I'd met our other Prospects Live guy, Jordan Rosenblum. And he'd written some real interesting articles on aging curves and just kind of predictive statistics. And he built this really cool little calculator in Excel where you could I don't know if you ever saw any of this stuff, but this was sort of like where Scout the Stat Line came from. This calculator, you would just punch in these different numbers, into Excel, and it would give you an expected major league output. So I just thought that was super cool. And I was like, hey, I don't really know how you did this, but like, let's talk about it. And so it really fit with a lot of like the principles of how I view players and how I view analyzing data. I'm a big data guy, obviously, Scout the Stat Line. But we just started working on it, and instead of making it like an input-driven sort of thing, we were like, why don't we just apply all these different things to the players and the prospects out there and let people just look at the player that they want, So like very early iterations was like a drop-down list. You just select your guy, So we just started applying some of this stuff and building it out and writing about it. That's really like how I got my start. Jordan came up with the name Scouting the Stat Line. And later we just, cut out the ING, Scout the Stat Line. We launched a website somewhere along the way and just started rolling with it, and eventually it kind of became a subscription-based service. You could join there. You could go look at the model, update it every single day, so you always have the freshest data available. And we were just really successful in pinpointing these really under-the-radar guys, that nobody's talking about yet. And then they would just pick up, so it would just like light on fire. And so it's just been a lot of fun doing that. Jordan, of course, a few years ago, came and joined Prospects Live as a writer and brought some of Scout the Stat Line stuff with him as well. We got PLive Plus, obviously. And I sort of became friends with Smada over the last year or so. And so eventually this year he was like, hey, you know, like, would you be interested in kind of like joining the leadership group and, you know, combining forces? And so I definitely was. So that's how I came to be here. So it really just sort of, I had a passion for it and I just started rolling with it. There was no grand designs when I got involved in this space, and it's just kind of grown into this interesting thing. Now I get to go on podcasts with like James Anderson, you know, these guys that are really really smart baseball scouts and analysts. So it's just been a thrill. It's a lot of fun.
Did you envision yourself kind of being in the baseball space? Because I mean, you're in it, right? Like you've got, you know, multiple kind of companies going on now. I mean, you're obviously on these podcasts. Like you're very well known name now, especially within Dynasty and all that. Did you see this kind of being your path, or is this kind of all a surprise to you?
Not at all. I mean, I'm thrilled about it. Like I think it's really exciting. You know, talking with my buddies, it was always like the dream was to own a baseball team. And obviously, like, not very many people get that opportunity, including myself. But this is like the next best thing as far as I'm concerned. You know, I'm like everybody else. I still work. I've got a normal job and I'm supporting family and all that. But I can see the reality of this being like a career all its own, you know, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty exciting. And I never would have expected that.
Yeah. I mean, it's grown fast. So who knows what's going to happen 5 years from now.
Exactly.
Right. But,
Exactly.
with Scout the Stat Line, have you had like one player over the years that like you had nailed before everyone else? Like something that stood out kind of on your site, on your numbers that ended up turning into kind of like a big league guy?
I mean, I think we've had a lot of little wins.
Yeah.
I mean, we always have like certain guys that they're like the dudes that we're championing. Evan Carter was a really big one for us.
Okay.
You know, we were just like, this guy when he was 18 years old, like he's going to be a star. You know, might not see it in the numbers yet, but it's coming, and it sure did with him. And we'll see. Hopefully, he stays healthy and that all works out. Corbin Carroll was a guy that we spotlighted as the next number one. Well before he became the Corbin Carroll that, you know, he is now. He had just made his debut and he had a pretty decent debut, but you know, that next season he really took off, and we were already kind of like seeing that in the data. Junior Caminero, we might not have been the first to him, but we definitely shined a spotlight on him as somebody that we thought was going to be a superstar. I think all these guys, you know, I sort of made a name, a little bit of a reputation for calling out these differences before they happened. Drew Jones and Jackson Holiday. Remember when that was like a huge controversy at some point?
Yeah.
You know, and I was a supporter of Drew Jones when they got drafted.
Me too.
As far as like who I thought was going to be awesome, but you could tell real early on that there was a difference between those two players. And you know, I got some notoriety for just pointing that out. You know, it's just like, hey, you know, one of these guys is looking like a future number one prospect. It's not the guy that you think it is. So so I think we've had a lot of little successes like that over the years, and really I think our biggest strength is spotlighting the guys that are very unknown. Emmanuel Rodriguez, he's pretty well known now, but when he was first coming up, there wasn't a whole lot of people talking about him. We were on top of him for sure. Just a really unique talent, you know. So.
Yeah. As far as now kind of being in the ownership group of Prospects Live, kind of biggest question here. Do you kind of have like a vision moving forward? Like what can our listeners kind of expect from Prospects Live moving forward? Is anything going to change, or things kind of going to, you know, remain on course? Kind of what are you thinking for Prospects Live from here on out?
Well, so I mean, the first thing is Prospects Live is like top notch. I mean, the quality of content that is produced there is next level. I mean, to me, we sort of toss around internally sometimes. We kind of toss around like a Baseball America alternative. That's kind of what Prospects Live, that's how we kind of see ourselves. But I would say from a Dynasty lens, like it's far better. The quality of content is just insane. So I don't want to disrupt anything with that. I want the guys to continue to produce the best quality stuff. I want to keep that excellence. I want to expand it though. I think we can I think we can make a little more. We can do a little more in the social spaces, and I think you're going to be a part of that as well. So that's pretty exciting. I think we can expand to do more like professional coverage. It's probably a pretty saturated market, but without sacrificing any of the great content that we build for around prospects. I'd like to build that out further. You know, maybe some more support for redraft leagues. I am a dynasty guy first and foremost, so it's not for me that I would be doing that. It would be for other people that are interested in that. Scout the Stat Line is going to kind of feed into Prospects Live. That's how I envision them working together. Is that Scout the Stat Line is going to provide the backbone from a data standpoint. So we're going to really build that out from, you know, there's all these websites out there that have great data like Fangraphs. So I kind of see Scout the Stat Line being with a more predictive bent, like the data center. You know, that's where we're going to get all our data. And eventually it would be amazing at Prospects Live to have like player cards, right? Like you could search up your prospect, click on them, and you know, a player card comes up and it's got all their projections listed out. It's got scouting reports. It's got all the great content that we build out, but just, you know, snapshot view. And that's how I can see them kind of interacting together. So I think it's really exciting. We've talked a lot about expanding into MLB and stuff like that. So that seems like a pretty big step for us. We want to have, I think we want to fill all the gaps. Wherever there's a gap, we're going to try to fill it.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. The Dynasty closer hierarchy that you put together, which is really cool. But that was just something. It's like, hey, how come nobody's ever talking about a potential close? It's a huge part of the game. It's a huge part of the game. Like, why do we not have a tool for that? And now we do. So it's in its infancy, but I see that thing getting fleshed out and being built out more. We'd like to do the same kind of thing with entire rosters. You know, you want to have something that's going to say who's going to play what position when, you know, when are they going to show up? So something like that too, I think would be really cool.
Yeah, kind of a one-stop shop for everything baseball. I think the player cards is like, man, it's a dream. I know we're probably ways away from that, but I think it's really cool. And I think ever since you've come on, I saw someone say this on one of the podcasts you were on this week, one of many, that people have kind of been invigorated at Prospects Live since you came on. I mean, we're rolling out content like never before, a bunch of new stuff starting up. And I think we got the right guys in the boat. So I think we're trending in the right direction. Yeah. So moving on.
That's awesome to hear. I'm glad I have that halo effect. You know,
you really do.
You know, it's not me pushing that forward. It's all you guys. So I'm thrilled to just be a part of it.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the top 100 list that you recently released on your X. First of all, I should have checked this. Is it a Dynasty top 100 or is this actual kind of MiLB rankings?
It would have a Dynasty bent. I think anything that I do pretty much has a Dynasty bent to it.
That's what I figured. So I think you've kind of been championing a couple guys on your X for a while now. I've been following for forever, and I've picked up a bunch of guys before. You know, when you joined the Prospects Live Discord, I was like, this guy, like, this is my fantasy guy. Like, I was stealing all my ideas from you back in the day.
Nice.
One of them being, you've been super high on Luis Pena for a while, and I've traded for him in a couple leagues in the last, 4 months or whatnot. But you have him ranked at 9 over Jesus Mate, which is, some people could call it a controversial opinion. I think it's probably fair. I think they're both top 10 guys or right around. So kind of what was your thinking on that ranking?
I think it's a tough one because Mate is such a good prospect too, and I don't want to like throw any shade his way with that ranking. I just think that his contact skills are like a little bit better, and he might not have the same power potential, but he's got a ton of speed. And I think he's going to be a hitting machine. I mean, it's so close, though. Like, I have him back-to-back in the rankings, obviously, you know that. But it could change real quick. But he's a guy that Scout the Stat Line is, like, right now, he's number 1. He ranks number 1. He just passed Roman Anthony and Samuel Basayo, and those guys have been number 1 on that list forever. So, to me, that's shocking. It's still a fairly small sample that he's working with, but he's a hit machine. I think you take the regression off, and it was saying at one point that he was projected for like 89 stolen bases or something ridiculous like that. So if you got a guy that can do anything close to that, 50, 60 stolen bases, And the one question mark is how much power is there. But if he has as much power as I think he does, there's 20 home run potential that you pair with that, an excellent bat. So somebody that can threaten to hit 300 every single year with 20 home runs, 60 stolen bases. That sounds like a fantasy dream to me.
Yeah, I think when you have the contact skills, I mean, I'm pulling it up here. He's striking out less than 10% of the time. Like the contact rate is ridiculous. You're bound to hit, 15, 20 home runs, even with below average power as an everyday player, right? Like I think it's just such a fun kind of archetype for a player. And he was scouted to have like not great speed or more like average speed. And now he's, well, like you said, 89 stolen bases if you take off regression. I mean, there's a lot to be kind of excited about with his development. My next guy that I have a question on is at number 16, Lazaro Montes. So I think you're a little bit higher than most others on him. I recently saw him play down here in Eugene. And I think that like the ceiling is as high as maybe any ceiling out there. I also think the floor is pretty low. Our buddy Rhys White isn't super high on him. He keeps throwing out, I forget the comp that he keeps saying, but he keeps saying kind of like, oh man, this is gonna kill me. I'll have to figure it out later. But there's kind of some question marks on Lazaro Montes, and especially kind of the hit tool. So kind of what led you to ranking him so high?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of carried that risk reputation ever since he became a prospect. I remember reading, I don't know if it was Baseball America somewhere. I was reading a scouting report on him, and they gave him it was a 20 or a 30 hit grade or something like that. And it was pretty harsh on his ability to hit. They said there's a lot of holes in the swing, and then of course he debuted, and it's like this guy mashes. Like I'm not seeing what they're, at least in the numbers, I'm not seeing what they're pointing out as being the big risks. Now that said, he was moved up to high A last year, and he struggled for a little while.
Yeah.
So there's obviously something to it, but he started figuring that level out later through the season. And this year, repeating it, like he's just annihilating it. Last I checked, which was a day or two ago, he was slugging over 600. So immense power. I think the hit tool is far better than people give him credit for. The lazy comp is Yordan Alvarez.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of see like maybe fulfilling what Eloy Jimenez we wanted him to be could be sort of the Lazaro Montes ceiling, I guess. But there's clearly going to be some risk there, and he's a big guy, somewhat of a long swing. So we'll see how it turns out. But I'm really focused on the upside with him. There's 40 home run potential there. So
I love it when people do their top 100s and they rank them off upside. Because if you're going off upside, Montes is a top 20 prospect, kind of like you said. And if it all clicks, like it's going to look really good in a couple of years when you had him at 16 and everyone else had him at 60, right? But yeah, I mean, from last year at high A, he was striking out 30% of the time. He cut that down to 26%. He's walking 3% more. His contact percentage has gone up. His WRC plus is up. I mean, he's honestly ready for a promotion to double A, and that's kind of where we'll probably see what he's that hit tool's probably made of is after that promotion. See if he kind of has that slow start again. But I'm a Mariners fan. I grew up in Seattle, so I love having him in the farm, and he's a don't trade guy for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're spot on. He could struggle when he goes up to Double A. That would not surprise me at all. But it's whether or not he figures it out that you'd know if you got something special there, I think.
Yeah. All right. Next up, I kind of had Zebby Matthews with a big green circle on my sheet here. Zebby Matthews at 22. So I think this is an interesting one because it's really hard to rank guys who debuted and struggled, and now they're back in the minors, and we're not sure when they're going to get the chance again. I mean, he's probably only a couple innings away from graduating, so we can still sneak him onto lists, but it almost feels like, I don't know, he feels less of a prospect than other guys in my head, a little bit older too. I am the biggest Debbie guy out there. I love the command guys. That's what I was when I pitched in college. But 22 is obvious. That's the highest I've ever seen him, and I love it. And I kind of want to know what puts you in the mindset to rank Zebby so high.
That's the highest you've seen it. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I usually kind of do these things in a vacuum. I'm not really looking at other lists when I put them together. So yeah. I'm kind of surprised to hear that. I think I'm with you. I like these guys that pound the zone It's just, it's kind of like I don't know if it's an old school approach, but like he's not walking dudes. He's actually like doing a little bit worse in AAA than he did last year anyway. Walking 3 guys per 9. What is that? But maybe he's trying to get a little
How dare
outside
he?
his own. Yeah, cut the edges. I just really like that type of a profile, and I think he could be an impactful player. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm looking, his whip is up a little bit as a result as well. I just wonder if he's just trying to pinpoint a little bit more.
I saw
a bit.
I saw that his stuff had taken a bit of a jump from last year. I've been kind of covering him on our AAA daily sheet. I mean, the performances have been super impressive. The strikeouts are kind of at an all-time high. And kind of when that stuff ticks up, I guess the walk numbers tick up too. But like 3 walks per 9 is actually pretty high for Zebby, right? I mean, we're looking at a guy who's sub 1 for his whole minor league career.
Yeah, right.
So I think if he can blend both of those, I think there's no reason he's not one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. But yeah, I also wonder when he's going to kind of get the call up with him and Festa kind of duking it out down there, and the Twins are still throwing out Chris Paddock. It's just kind of I don't know necessarily when we're going to see Zebby at the big league level, but I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, in my opinion, he should be up right now. So
yeah, me too. Another kind of almost post-hype prospect at this point, who I don't know if he's still technically qualified. He might have thrown enough innings now. Is you had Jack Leiter at 25. Jack Leiter was like my favorite guy coming out of college. I tried replicating him in my own game, stuff like that. Bulldog on the mound with some fun stuff. And he felt like he was like the next era of that VAA high ride fastball kind of guy. And it didn't really work out for him for a while, and now we've kind of seen him come on the other side of his struggles and succeed a little bit at the major league level. It's kind of been up and down still. What do you like so much about Jack Leiter?
I mean, I think I'm with you completely. Like, I just was really high on this guy when he was coming out of college. And I mean, I guess you got to say, like, he's had a pretty disappointing run through the minors. Like, considering the pedigree that he had coming out of Vanderbilt anyway. I think he's been turning it around. I've just been picking up on that, I like this type of a guy, high strikeout dude. I think at one point he set a really infamous record for the highest ERA ever set or something like that in the major league for somebody that had pitched over 10 innings or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something that was like really not good. But I think we're going to get a chance to see him turn it around. He's not young anymore, 25. So far his track record in the majors has been a little spotty, but I just think that there's something there.
Yeah. And he did just graduate, though. No longer a prospect. But, I mean, 4.2 FIP this year. I mean, it's definitely a trend in the right direction, and the ERA doesn't necessarily back that up at 5. But Texas also kind of needs all the upside that they can get, right? They're kind of skating through 500 kind of this whole year. So I think Leiter will continue pitching for him, and I think that Leiter-Rocker combo is pretty cool. It's fun to watch. All right, I got one more name for you before I let you go. And this is my favorite ever, and I'm sure you already know this, but you had Craig Yoho in your top 100 prospects, which is just the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm the biggest reliever guy. Obviously, in the Dynasty closer hierarchy, he is a tier 1 future closer in my eyes. He struggled a little bit in his MLB debut so far. But you had Craig Yoho at 93, a reliever in the top 100 prospects, which is something you just don't see. What kind of led to that ranking? And that's awesome. It's just so cool.
Well, part of it was like nobody ever does that. Yeah. So I was like, well, where do I actually value this guy? Because I have him on like all my fantasy teams. It's like, well, I obviously apply some value to this guy if I own him everywhere. So I just thought about it, and it's like, you know what? I think, in my opinion, he needs to be on this list. He needs to be on there somewhere. He's somebody that I would rather roster than some of these guys that I've already got on here. So that's kind of how he ended up there. But here's the question, like, why do you never see that? Like, why was a guy like Craig Kimbrell, like, neglected and not on any top prospect lists? He's clearly like a lockdown closer when he was coming up too. And, has had a terrific career ever since then. So, yeah, I just think it needs to be done more. Everybody
this especially
no more with the hierarchy, though.
This definitely goes back to kind of that question you're posing is like, why do we not care about relievers in fantasy baseball, right? It's kind of the same thing. And especially on a top 100 list that has a dynasty kind of focus. I mean, I would feel like the best reliever, best two relievers should make that list somewhere. Probably not a top 40 guy, but I think 93 for Craig Yoho is more than fair in terms of the value you're going to get for him over a span of time, right? Like that's going to be your closer for 10 years in the next year or two. So I think that's really awesome. I love that.
I'm glad you brought that up.
We need to turn him around though. He's walking too many guys right now. But those are all the questions I have for you. I'm so appreciative that you kind of took the time to come on here, introduce yourself to the Prospects Live podcast listeners, and now would be a great time for you to kind of shout out what you're doing and where the people can find you on social media and all that.
All right, so you can find me on X at Ross Jensen 12. The 12 is meaningless. There was just 11 others that had that name before me, I guess. So Ross Jensen 12. You can also follow Scout the Statline at Statline Scout. You can follow us at Prospects Live at Prospects Live. Join the website, become a member, best content. And let's talk baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate your time and yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm really excited for everything going on at Prospects Live, and you're a huge part of it. So let's keep it going.
Thanks, Nate. I appreciate it.
All righty.
Okay, that was a fantastic interview with Nate and Ross. My favorite part was insert a point here. No, I'm just kidding. So let's talk about what's going on over at Prospects Live. Obviously, with the daily sheets, they're rolling. College daily sheet is going to be ending here soon. As you know, we start going to Omaha, or start the road to Omaha, but that doesn't mean that you're missing out on the daily sheets. You're to the minor league daily sheet, and Nate is one of the amazing contributors to that, along with myself. Nate, how are you enjoying the daily sheet? Who has been a prospect that stood out to you writing about it?
I mean, Lignon has been dominating my thoughts lately, but I would probably say that Cole Carrig,
yeah,
you're my pronunciation guy. Carrig.
Yeah.
Cole Carrig has been a mainstay on my daily sheets so far this year.
Yeah, he's been really good. And then on top of that, speaking about Nate goes out to games more often these days than I do. Nate and Will Thompson have both had live looks. Who impressed you in your live looks?
Johnny Farmello, as I've said maybe 3 times in the last 2 podcasts, might be the best Mariner prospect, and he's now up to 5 home runs in 2 weeks of baseball, coming off an ACL injury.
That is, as I would say, not bad. Johnny Farmello has been fantastic. I mean, he's playing center field after that ACL injury. He's crazy. He's looked good, like on video. I mean, that team is awesome. Did you had a chance to see Sinche yet?
No, he was on the bench. But I can tell he's a funny guy based on the faces he was making during the game.
Okay, that's good. And ambidextrous pitcher and funny guy. Sometimes you have to. It's not only a gimmick on the mound. I'm just kidding. He's not a gimmick. He's actually a really good reliever, or really good left-handed pitcher, and a really, really good right-handed starter. I mean, there's a chance he's a top 10 pitching prospect by mid-season. Honestly, if he's not already there. And Will Thompson, obviously, he has a chance to go see the Sugar Land Space Cowboys. And I know that he was just texting me recently. He was upset that Lawler was going to Sugar Land, and he was like, I'm so excited to go see Jordan Lawler. And then Jordan Lawler gets promoted to the major leagues. I was like, that's sort of the breaks around here about writing about prospects and everything like that. But let's move on to our next thing. Smada went through and he took PLive Plus for a deep dive, and he found some deep league sleepers. There was a bunch of really good ones. I don't want to step on that. You should definitely, if you're a Prospects Live member, you should definitely go check that out. We had a fantastic Bowman Jumbo Hobby Box break on YouTube. Shout out to Joe Lowry. Shout out to our boy Drew Wheeler. Drew Wheeler's been really picking it up and doing a lot of stuff over Prospects Live. And for what I was able to watch of that break, it was fantastic. The Dynasty pickup guys have been rolling on with our podcast. Kyle and Taylor have been fantastic. Tom wrote a 3-up, 3-down article. Tom Gates. We have our newest member over at Prospects Live, although we'll have a new guy getting it out soon tomorrow. But you guys won't hear that. The Diamond Diplomas by Lucas Morel. He's been a fantastic ad. And then you can check me out over on the Dynasty Dingers podcast, technically with our do you want to call them our sister site? What do you want to call them? They're affiliated with us. Doc has been writing the Sunday Smokes. Matt has been taking over as a host on the Dynasty podcast. But yeah, I was on that with Ross, and we had a fantastic conversation. It really didn't talk as much about prospects as I think we were expecting. We talked a lot about fantasy baseball and what it is like to be someone who writes lists and how that can be used against us and stuff like that. And I think it was a really fascinating thing. I got a chance to talk about my origin story, and we got to hear about Ross and what's been going on and everything like that. So it was a really fun podcast. Shout out to the guys over at the Dynasty Dingers over on Statline. Nate, I think we should get on to maybe the most fun end segment in all of baseball. Nate, what's been on your mind, man?
First of all, I think I'm actually on this week's Dynasty Dingers. So back-to-back weeks for us two on that podcast. And I think I want to call Doc my weird cousin. I think that's the most fitting term for him. I don't know if he's a sister to me. I think he's like a weird cousin. And I think he would understand that. I think he would get that. I think
he would relish on that, honestly.
I was going to go like weird uncle, but I'm going to go weird cousin on that.
Weird uncle has some sort of connotations behind it that you might not want to explore.
Right. We are actually trying to get sponsors. So speaking of that, I mean, we should definitely keep this clean and someone should sponsor us. Okay, what's on my mind? There is a controversy, I think you can call it, going on in college baseball / happened last week, and it involves another local theme for myself in the Pacific Northwest, the University of Washington baseball team. I think probably everyone saw this on Twitter, but it was brought to light that the University of Washington played a game against an NAIA team, Warner Pacific, who was in my previous conference, in the Cascade Collegiate Conference. Warner Pacific is a small first-year baseball program from Portland, and they, I believe, won like 10, 15 games this year. They were well below 500, and they were leading the University of Washington after 6 or 7 innings, 4-3. I should have checked this before I started talking. But they were beating the University of Washington when there was a malfunction with the lights at UW's field. That smells fishy, Rhys, does it not?
I am glad that we were talking about this because it is a slap in the face to to everybody except for the University of Washington, because it just seemed like they just rage quit and turned off the console in the middle of the game.
So it did not count as a loss or a win. It counted as a to be made up game that will not be made up. One of my first points I want to make on this topic is that Warner Pacific played this game after they had been eliminated from the NAIA playoffs. They did not make our conference tournament this year. Despite being a sneaky, kind of fun team, they actually beat us in 2 out of 8 games this year. Warner Pacific played this game against UW like 2 weeks after their season was over, had obviously nothing to lose, and was winning this game. But no one will know that they actually won this game because this game won't count. With all of this being said, I have set myself up and set all of you guys up because I have a source inside of the University of Washington baseball team. And I want to read you what he said to me, and I don't know if we're going to believe it or not, but I think it's important to hear both sides of the story. So I texted him and asked if he had a comment on the lights turning off when they were losing to Warner Pacific, a not great baseball team. And he said, and I quote, he will remain nameless, "One of the fuses broke to the main circuit box. They spent time trying to fix it while the game was going on. 2 lights ended up turning on, but the main fuse box broke. I asked them if they will finish the game, and the thought is that they will not." Okay, so we have a UW player whom I trust very much so, denying the allegations that UW just chose to turn off the lights. But could they have blown the fuse? And this is maybe where we start a true crime podcast, you and me, Rhys, and try to kind of uncover mysteries like this within the baseball world. I think I actually believe it because it is insane for a college team to knowingly mess with their lights in order for a game to not count. I think that stoops so far below the standard and the point of college baseball in the first place to where I cannot believe a high character coach like Eddie Smith would allow that to happen. I've heard great things about Eddie Smith. Daniel Dickinson, who we interviewed in this podcast, said great things about Eddie Smith. I do not think that the University of Washington would do that. However, it looks super suspicious, and I want to know what you think, Rhys.
So Washington it seems like a move to save their RPI, save themselves in the RPI model. Because I mean, I can't imagine. You were talking about it that when you guys lost to Utah Valley, that it actually raised your guys' rankings, right? Because you guys lost. Now, I can't imagine what a loss does to a team that I don't know if Washington's on the bubble of hosting or not. So this is clearly if it very clearly could be the biggest misunderstanding of all time, right? But it just looks so fishy. I mean, for a team that probably is not, they haven't really been a baseball powerhouse for a while, so maybe this is just their chance. Maybe I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know, man. I feel like a Big Ten school isn't just going to have wonky lights, because it didn't seem like there was any weather involved or anything like that. It's just a very fishy move, especially against a school that, like you said, was kind of just playing just to play the game. They're like, okay, we already contractually agreed to play this game. We might as well just do it, right? I don't know if it's like in football where you get paid, where the program gets paid to play against a weak competition. You might know that better than I do. But it's just a very fishy look for the University of Washington. And the fact that I don't think there should be more heat pressed on Washington. And I think there should be an investigation, at the very least.
The Eddie Smith Twitter replies have been all-time comedy. So funny. I got a bunch of buddies at UW who play. They're all super good guys. I don't want to drag them for something that they might not have done, but I think we can all admit something does not look great on their end, and it could be a total misunderstanding. It also could not, and maybe someone went rogue and unplugged a cord or something like that. But either way, shout out to Warner Pacific Baseball. I know that we were enemies this year on the field. However, I stand with you now. My last little point on what's on your mind is that since it is now summer, I have moved home because I am a young person and I'm in my parents' basement, which means I have a whole new setup, as you can see. The background is constantly changing this episode for me. But what summer also means for a guy like myself is it means it's time to pick up the sticks and start playing some video games again. I got some more free time, and every summer I play Red Dead Redemption 2. Which is the greatest video game of all time. Not a gamer. However, Red Dead Redemption 2, greatest video game of all time. I think a lot of people will agree with me in the comments, and I just want to put it out there that is my summer plan as of right now, as well as working for Prospects Live.
Oh, okay. Red Dead Redemption 2 is great. I don't even know if it's the best Rockstar game. GTA 5 is pretty great.
You're right. No, it's a good game.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong either way. So those are both elite games. I mean, we got GTA 6. What do you call it? A trailer, but that means that we won't see the game for another 3-4 years, basically, with the way they produce games and everything like that. But whenever they do drop a game, it's always fantastic. I've been a big, GTA, Red Dead Redemption fan since the beginning. But yeah, do you want me to move on over to what's on my mind? I have a baseball one, and then I don't know. We can see where it goes from there.
Yeah, let me phrase it as, what's on your mind, Rhys?
What is on my mind is whatever the Cubs were doing with Cade Horton's debut. And it's just very weird for me that so for a little background story, they're playing the Mets, a good lineup, a good team, one of the better teams in all baseball. But they decided that Cade Horton was going to make his major league debut in relief. And technically, he got 4 innings, but it was just very weird. He's never relieved before. And all of a sudden they're going to have him relief. And then I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, why would they have him an opener go for him and he be the bulk guy? And it seemed like they wanted to avoid Juan Soto, which is a very interesting move because it's not like Juan Soto started to heat up and be, the superstar Juan Soto that we know. He's been a very good player, don't get me wrong, but it just seemed like they were trying to have him do a soft landing into the major leagues. And this is a good Cubs team. They can't afford to have a bad inning. So I didn't understand the rationale for deploying him like this. And isn't the whole idea is that this is a developmental year for Cade Horton to get a chance to see the best hitters in the world and figure out a way in which to sequence and attack them? And why would you purposely avoid Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso? That's probably one of the best 1, 2, 3s that you might see at any given time. Why would you avoid that just so that, so that he can have a softer landing when this is the whole idea of this season is to compete in the National League Central, but also for these prospects and these young players that they have to develop, and maybe they can try and convince Kyle Tucker to sign a contract extension with them. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I just thought it was, I'm not going to say cowardly, but it was just a very weird and to have him do something like that. Why not have him just, get a chance to face Juan Soto?
I'm right there with you. I think it's insane. And I also think Cade Horton's like a really good pitching prospect. I can understand if you're doing that with a less notable pitching prospect, or maybe someone who struggles with the home run ball in their first couple outings or something like that. Cade Horton does not scream, I need an opener to me at all. I think he's going to be successful in the major leagues as soon as this year. I don't think he's going to be a guy that struggles off rip. I think he's going to be pretty good. I just don't get it. And I would love to maybe find some rationale on that. I don't know if anyone's written about it online, but it doesn't make sense to me either.
Because it isn't like something that other teams, smarter teams do, right? Like, if the Dodgers think that you are good enough to handle a start, they don't care who it's against, right? Like, and the idea is that these are developmental reps. Get them and try and see if you can get out Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, not give up a home run to Brett Beatty where he left a slider over the heart of the plate too much. And that happens. That's part of developing, and you learn that you can't do that as a pitcher, right? You can do that in AAA. You cannot do that to Brett Beatty in the major leagues, right? And, we talk about Brett Beatty maybe being a future Kansas City Royal and stuff like that, but he's still a major league caliber player to whatever extent we can argue, people can argue and whatnot. Seems like Mets people really love Brett Beatty, and that there's other those that love him and those that just don't think he's, very good. But still, Cade Horton needs to get a chance to see what are they going to do when they start facing like other really good lineups. When they face the Dodgers, they're just going to have him avoid Ohtani, Freeman, and Betts. Like, it just doesn't seem like that's the way in which you should be developing someone that I think is going to be a perfectly fine. What is the ceiling on Cade Horton? Like an SP3 type?
I'd agree.
Yeah. It's really bothered me, and the more I've been reading about it, I've been listening to other podcasts about it, and it just kind of shocked me that this is the way in which the Cubs decided to do it. And there's people defending the move, and I was just like, it's kind of not the way in which I think you should be breaking in your, just let him go out there, have his normal routine. He's going to be super excited. I mean, it's a nationally televised game. It's a really important series against the Mets. So it was just a very weird decision. For me personally, I didn't understand it. Okay, so you talked about Red Dead Redemption 2. I had to give up video games because the whole Prospect Live thing started taking off for me and everything like that. But I would definitely love to sit down and play Red Dead Redemption. When I do play video games, I'm a big NCAA football guy. When I go back and I go watch my parents' dog, or I go walk my parents' dog, or hang out with my nephew, that's normally what I'm going home to go do. I'm going to go fire up my. I'm turning Kansas Jayhawks into a powerhouse program. We moved to the SEC. So it's been a that's my video game choice. But I want to come on here. I want to talk about my favorite TV show going. I don't know if I mentioned it last week. I feel like I was on like 3 shows and everything. So I'm a big Nathan Fielder fan. Nathan For You is one of my favorite shows. His new show with HBO. Well, it's not his new show because it's the second season. It's been fantastic. They've been focusing on, I don't want to give up too much for people who haven't watched it yet, but it's focusing on like airline and pilot safety and what has caused some of these pretty crazy crashes, and it's like miscommunication. But then it has, if you're familiar with Nathan Fielder and his style, it has his own personal twist on things. The last episode that I watched, I'm an episode behind. Actually, when we get done recording, I believe I'm going to sit down and watch the next episode. But it's probably some of the best stuff on TV. He really has his own way about doing things.
Isn't this the one where he's pretending to be Sully from the time where he's like a baby? I've seen clips on TikTok. I'm a huge Nathan For You guy. I haven't started this show yet, but
it is. So you've seen the TikToks where he's a baby.
Yes.
It is. I don't think I've laughed that hard. Okay. I don't think I've ever laughed at something before. That's what he does on there is pretty crazy. What is your favorite Nathan For You bit? Because I still think one of my favorites is the there was one where I've actually been to the hotel that he tested this out at. It is a pod for children so that the parents can be intimate while they share a hotel room. I'm going to try and keep it PG. And he has a bunch of adult film actresses have a group event. I'm trying to keep this as vague as possible because I assume we're going for a family-friendly
We're
thing.
PG-ish.
Yes, PG-ish. That's a good way to put it. And he sits in the pod while they, are filming their content. So yeah, that's one of my favorite bits, especially because I've seen the hotel. It's like right off the freeway and everything like that. We used to stay there all the time as a kid.
I think it was the price match one where they like use the price match at the one store to buy like the TVs from another store, and then there's one where you had like a tiger in a room. I don't know. I actually haven't seen it in a couple of years, but that's like what my TikTok is. It's just kind of Nathan Fielder adjacent kind of stuff. And you and me might have similar taste in comedy. Are you a Tim Robinson guy, perchance?
I do love Tim Robinson. His show's so good. He has a movie with Paul Rudd, who I don't know if I've ever said this.
Good.
I'm not a big Paul Rudd guy, but I'm very excited to go see this movie.
I notoriously do not go to the movie theater.
Me either.
I am a at-home movie guy, and nothing excites me that comes out nowadays. I think that movie's called Friendship, and I've never been more excited for a movie in my adult life. So
I'm glad we both agree. I'm not a big movie person either. I'm trying to think, what was the last movie? I go with my nephew sometimes because I think it's good that kids learn, being at the movie theater and stuff. Transformers, the animated Transformers movie is the last movie I saw in theaters.
Yeah, I just don't do it. It's expensive, and you can pirate it online. If we're being honest, I
don't want you to admit to any crimes. I just can't sit in one place for too long. Like it's like my own form of, especially now that movies are like 3 hours long. It's like my own form of torture. I can sit through a baseball game just fine, but like a movie, especially like, you go there, you get the popcorn, you get a drink, and you just have like this big drink just sitting in your stomach for like, an entire movie. My personal idea is that they should add an intermission to any movie over 2 hours. I know it's not a popular idea, but I think that, because I have to pee a lot. I'm a very well hydrated guy, and a movie is just, I don't want to miss a movie. I'm paying enough to be there as it is. I shouldn't have to, this should be a bathroom break.
No, I'm a certified pee guy too. And with that, we are going to end our episode. Rhys, it has been a great episode for us. We had our first 2 interviews of the year, and we are going to have another huge one dropping on our next episode with a pretty likely first round pick in this summer's draft, and lots of fun things happening at the On Deck podcast. And we've already shouted out our socials. So do you have any kind of lasting ending words for our viewers?
Yeah, I think we forgot to shout out our musical, what do you want to call them? People who are allowing us to use their music. So I think you should definitely shout them out.
Yeah, the Drop Teens, right? You've heard some great songs throughout this, in between every single segment that we do. We have this exclusive deal going on with the Drop Teens where we're using all their music. They're a pretty popular band. They kind of make some country adjacent music, and they're on tour right now. I know that. Go check them out on Spotify because Apple Music sucks, or check them out wherever because they deserve all of your love. And we are so thankful that they let us kind of play their music. And with that being said, play the next song. This episode's over.
I got my life on the line, and isn't that beautiful? So you can be free and do what you please. I got my eyes open wide, and aren't they beautiful? I'm so terrified.